So we're going to hit create. It's starting up. It may take a while to load. Alright, so you're going to see a lot of instructions for what to do to kind of guide you through. On the side you're going to see graphics, uploads, backgrounds, text, tools, and how to import, which we'll go over everything in depth soon. Graphics has shapes and lines. Here you can just click and drag and you'll see the line up here if you want to use it. It is a dashed line, which I'm not a fan of and we're not going to use, so I am going to delete it. I'm changing the side by clicking the corner and dragging it out. It's pretty simple. Double click and hit delete or erase to get rid of that line if you don't want it. Then we have icons. Like I said, these are all completely free and within the service, so you can use anything. The best way to get through the icons is actually to search, but I am going to show you some of the options before we do get into anything in depth. So, there's also going to be basically icons for everything that you could possibly want. So, like I said, you can search. Since we're doing a travel themed blog, I'm going to look up travel, and it'll show me everything that it thinks is relative to that. And we'll be using some of those in this example. But like I said, there is pretty much a option for any type of icon that you could possibly want. And if you don't see it, you can look it up. There's also photos. These are the stock photos that come with the service. There are hundreds of them. And of course, avoid copyright infringement issues and use some of these photos if you don't have some of your own. There's also a list for this, and you can obviously also search for anything that you need. Then we have photo frame, and these are quite cool. So basically what the photo frame is it's a little outline that you're allowed to put your own uploaded photo into. So we're going to put the number in here, and I'll show you how to use it with your uploads. So where those books are, you can insert your own photo inside of that number, and I'll go into that soon. But it's a really cool feature. So that brings us to uploads. I have tons of uploaded photos already, so I probably won't need to upload anything, but it's really quite simple. You can just click your photos and upload if you are familiar with how to upload photos, which most of you should be. These are the ones that I've uploaded for the packing list. As you can see, there's a little X there. You can use that to delete and open up space. To put them in, all you have to do is click and drag it in. So we'll go into that soon as well. Right now I've used 1.73 megabytes of space out of 40 megabytes, and it's really cool because, as you can see, I already have tons of photos in there, and they really didn't take up a lot of space. So the 40 megabytes isn't really a bad deal at all for a free service. Here we have background. So right now, as you can see, we have this kind of plain ombre effect background that I'm going to change. Not a huge fan of it. I want it to be bright and colorful. So the same type of deal. You can scroll through, click, and drag that right over. As you can see, this is way too light, so we're not going to be using that one. But it is relatively simple, and there are tons of options. If you prefer, you can also use your own background. You can change the opacity and the color of the background as well, which I'll get into in just a moment. This happens to be my favorite background because it looks like watercolor, and it shows the white really nicely. So we're going to be using this. And here's how to change the opacity, which basically means how translucent the picture looks. The further away you go from the 100%, the lighter the photo starts to look. But we're going to keep it at 100 because we want that color to show. You can also click here for color and change the color to your choice if you prefer it to be darker, a different type of blue. This one's a little hard to see, but it did get a little shade darker when I changed that. But like I said, it's hard to see because it's already a light background. Next, we have the text feature. You'll see several options for types of text that you can put into. I like subtitled the most. You just click and drag. You double click to edit as it says. I hit delete. Basically, when in doubt, double click and you will get exactly where you need in this Piktochart website. We're looking at text frames right now, if you're wondering, by the way, which is a very cool feature. It's one of my favorites. It offers borders and cool fonts for your main header text or any text that you want to use. Next, we have tools, which shows charts, maps, and videos. The charts is basically a really cool feature. It's like Excel, but a little less complex inside the service, and you can add any type of numbers and figures that you want. We also have maps, which is just a world map feature, and videos, so you can upload any YouTube or Vimeo videos. You just click, paste. As you can see, I actually have my my discussion board post right there. It's not a URL. So like I said, YouTube and Vimeo are supported for that. And then we have import, and that would be SurveyMonkey, which I guess would allow you to use your SurveyMonkey account to put any type of figures that you want to inside of the infographic, if you have anything like that. So we're going to start back at graphics, and I'm going to show you how to edit some stuff in here. We're going to delete the information that is inside the infographic because we don't need this particular type. So this text down here, double click and delete, click and delete. Same thing goes for icons, just click and delete. You can click the outer circle or the inner icon to erase any shape that you want to and add your own shapes or your own icons or your own text, whatever you find that you want to put there. And we're going to change the title. So I'm going to double click, highlight it, delete it, and begin typing what I want. So it's going to take me a moment, I'm sure, to figure out what I want to call it. So for now, it doesn't really matter. Initially, the template I showed you was tips and tricks and pros and cons, but I think I'm going to actually go with before you embark. Excuse my typos. So I'm going to highlight that passage, and we're going to change the font. There's tons of font options, by the way. And we're going to change the size, which is pretty standard, and we're going to center it. So it's basically the same type of procedure for all of the text. You would just highlight and change the font to whatever you want. And you can do that all throughout the infographic. They can be any type of font that you want. You can have multiple fonts, you can have one solid font, but you do have to change them all separately, so keep that in mind when you're picking a bunch of different fonts. And it does automatically select the font that it came with, so this one's obviously Helvetica, so that's where it's going to stay, unfortunately, until you change it. And here's all the options. And then I'm clicking and dragging up to move it. Those yellow lines or orangish lines, however you see that color, are to let you know if the image is centered properly. It allows you to align everything with the previous images or text that you put in. So as you can see, this came with a chart inside of it. So I'm going to show you how to do some charts in just a moment after I finish editing the text. I left those circles for design aesthetic. So it says click to select block, but right now, when you hover over it, which basically just means where you want to put it, if you saw that, I just clicked and dragged for that plane icon, and I'm going to click this paint bucket up here for the color and change that. And then that little center dot has a way to move the image around right there. And I'm just going to click and drag it in the direction that I want it to go and align everything properly. Pretty simple on how to add them, but in case you forgot, I'll show you a few more times just so you can get the hang of it for yourself. These are all the ones for travel. Let's see. It's quite a few cute options. They have colors in black and white. I think I want to do a world. So again, you just center it with those orange lines, which is great. I love that feature. It really helps us OCD folks get everything together. And I'm just going to type whatever my first tip is, and I'm going to follow this for tip 2, 3, and 4 as I go along. So it's pretty simple. Everything is pretty standard. Nothing too difficult to grasp. The steps are pretty repetitive once you get the hang of Piktochart.